Rupture of sinus of Valsalva into right-sided cardiac chambers cause left to right shunt. Which is the RSOV with low shunt? A. RSOV into RVOT, B. RSOV into RA, C. RSOV into PA, D. None of the above. Correct answer A. RSOV into RVOT. RSOV into right ventricular outflow tract has lesser shunt as the tract can get obstructed in systole due to contraction of the tract in systole, and the shunt is mostly in diastole alone. For the same reason, the murmur in RSOV into RVOT, though continuous, has a characteristic diastolic augmentation. RSOV into right atrium or pulmonary artery have continuous unobstructed flow and hence a large left to right shunt. Liebman-Sachs endocarditis is seen in A. carcinoid syndrome, B. systemic lupus erythematosus, C. hypereosinophilic syndrome, D. endocardial fibroelastosis. Correct answer B. systemic lupus erythematosus. Liebman-Sachs endocarditis is a non-infective variety of endocardial involvement seen with SLE. The plaques on walls seen in carcinoid syndrome are called stuck-on plaques because they appear as if stuck on the endocardium of the walls with very little inflammation of adjacent tissue. Endocardial and subendocardial hyperechoic infiltrates can be seen in hypereosinophilic syndrome with Loeffler's endocarditis. ST elevation myocardial infarction is one of the commonest acute coronary syndromes. ST elevation in acute myocardial infarction is known as A. Westermarck sign, B. Paddy's sign, C. Palla's sign, D. Hampton's hump. Correct answer B. Paddy's sign. ST elevation in acute myocardial infarction is known as Paddy's sign. Westermarck sign is focal oligemia of the lung due to pulmonary embolism causing occlusion of a pulmonary artery branch. Palla's sign is a prominent right descending pulmonary artery seen in pulmonary embolism as the vessel dilates due to distal embolism. Hampton's hump is a peripheral wedge-shaped opacity due to pulmonary infarction. Atrial fibrillation is the commonest sustained arrhythmia. In which situation is atrial fibrillation likely to cause ventricular fibrillation? A. When associated with hyperthyroidism, B. When associated with hypothyroidism, C. When associated with WPW syndrome, D. When associated with mitral stenosis. Correct answer C. When associated with WPW syndrome. In Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, atrial fibrillation gets conducted to the ventricles both through the normal atrioventricular conduction system and the accessory pathway. The normal AV conduction system has decremental properties and the refractory period increases as the number of impulses reaching it increases. Hence, the normal AV conduction system does not allow too many impulses from the atrium to reach the ventricles. At the same time, accessory pathway refractory period decreases as the rate increases and it can transmit large number of impulses to the ventricle from the atrium. As the atrial rate is very high in atrial fibrillation, the presence of accessory pathway in WPW syndrome allows large number of atrial impulses to be conducted to the ventricles, leading to fast ventricular response. The rate may become so high that it leads to hemodynamic compromise and the ventricular rhythm can degenerate into ventricular fibrillation. In all the other conditions listed above, as long as the AV conduction system is intact and there is no accessory pathway, large number of atrial signals are blocked from reaching the ventricle and there is hardly any chance for ventricular fibrillation with atrial fibrillation. Non-ST elevation acute coronary syndrome with elevation of troponin level is best managed by A. Early coronary angiography and revascularization if feasible, B. Nitroglycerin infusion, C. Thrombolytic therapy with streptokinase, D. heparin infusion. Correct answer A. Early coronary angiography and revascularization if feasible. And STX is usually due to a non-occlusive coronary thrombus, mostly a platelet plug, which is not amenable to thrombolytic therapy. Thrombolytic therapy is useful in the case of ST elevation myocardial infarction, which is due to occlusive red thrombus, which is due to blood clot rich in fibrin, and hence the role of fibrinolytics. Nitroglycerin infusion is useful in control of angina in NSTACs, but the definitive treatment when troponin is elevated is by coronary revascularization, as troponin elevation indicates a higher risk subset of NSTACs. Heparin alone is not sufficient in this setting. Angiotensin converting enzyme is secreted from the lungs, kidneys, and vascular endothelium. Wrong statement about ACE is: A. ACE levels are useful in the diagnosis of sarcoidosis. B. ACE inhibitors are important antihypertensive agents. C. ACE converts angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. D. ACE degrades bradykinin, a potent vasodilator. Correct answer C. ACE converts angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. Angiotensinogen secreted from the liver is converted to angiotensin 1 by renin secreted by the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Angiotensin 1 is converted to angiotensin 2 from the lungs by ACE. Angiotensin 2 is a potent vasoconstrictor, and hence ACE inhibitors are very useful antihypertensive agents. ACE also degrades bradykinin, and hence ACE inhibition also helps lowering blood pressure by accumulation of bradykinin, which is a potent vasodilator. Accumulation of bradykinin is thought to be the mechanism for ACE inhibitor related cough. ACE levels are increased in sarcoidosis and is used in diagnosis and follow-up of therapy. But it may be worth remembering that ACE levels can also be increased in other conditions like Gaucher's disease and leprosy. Abdominal aortic aneurysm is a life-threatening condition as it has a chance to rupture as the size increases. Non-surgical management of a large abdominal aortic aneurysm is by: A. Injection of thrombin into the aneurysm sac. B. Insertion of a stent graft into the aneurysm through the femoral route. C. High-dose atorvastatin. D. Dual antiplatelet therapy. Correct answer B. Insertion of an aortic stent graft. Large abdominal aortic aneurysms are conventionally treated by open surgery with placement of a graft after resecting the aneurysmal segment. But very often, persons with large abdominal aortic aneurysms are in the older age group with associated other severe diseases like significant coronary artery disease, which increase their surgical risk. Hence, more and more cases are now being treated with insertion of a stent graft. Stent graft is a metallic stent with a covering of fabric so that blood does not leak through the stent struts. The folded stent with introducer is taken through a femoral artery cut down and positioned in the aorta so that the upper and lower ends are beyond the aneurysmal segment. When the stent graft is released, it excludes the aneurysmal region and provides a path for blood through the stent lumen. The region of the aneurysm outside the stent gets thrombosed and finally organized. Injection of thrombin by ultrasound guidance is a treatment for femoral pseudoaneurysms. Pseudoaneurysms occurring after an invasive procedure can be dealt with in this manner. High-dose atorvastatin may have a preventive role by reducing atherosclerosis and hence the chance for development of abdominal aortic aneurysm if given well before the development of the aneurysm. Antiplatelet therapy has a role in preventing thrombosis within the stent and not for aneurysm as such. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel for future updates and click on the bell icon for all updates. Thank you.